very unfortunate. But this is a big deal, and we need to create more awareness about it.
The nation is battling a crisis. The mental health of people is on the line. Many suffer in silence, all ages, all genders, all backgrounds.
If someone in your family you suspect having a mental health issue, it's the number one thing is to recognize that it may be an issue.
As the mental health discussion expands, we discuss opioids and note that one pill can kill.
This is a big deal. I just lost my uncle to fentanyl.
We'll show you how avenues for help are increasing.
People have either been, too ashamed to talk about it or didn't know very many outlets, but now we have those.
Our parent company, Sinclair Broadcast Group, has partnered with Victoria's Voice Foundation and Shooting for Peace for this important town hall.
Warning parents about the fentanyl and also what can be done about it, such as having Narcan in hand or at your house to save the person doing the drug overdose.
Please watch for your kids, learn for your family, and share with your friends. We need to end this epidemic. We welcome you to Your Voice, Your Future Town Hall, Mental Health and Opioids. I'm Mortera. Thanks for joining us. Your mental health matters, from depression to anxiety to sadness or the blues. You are not alone. Love, healing, and connection can be just a conversation away. We are taking a close look here, sharing stories and experiences that may help you and your loved ones on this journey to wholeness. Now, before we begin this conversation, first, a power couple's journey after the death of their young daughter to drug overdose. Sinclair Broadcast Group's Tiffany Lane shares how the Siegel family is using its platform as hotel moguls to make sure others can be saved from what they call is an epidemic.
And it certainly makes me heal in a way that my daughter didn't die in vain, because something good came out of her passing.
Jackie Siegel is still experiencing the sadness 8 years later. Her daughter Victoria died from an accidental drug overdose June 16, 2015, at just 18 years old, one of 129 Americans who lost their lives to drug overdose that same day. Since the tragedy, Jackie and her husband David Siegel, the owners of Westgate Resorts, are using their personal story to save other families from experiencing the same pain.
If I crawled under a blanket and felt sorry for myself and didn't do anything in this world in lieu of my daughter's death, I think I would be very, very depressed.
The Siegels have used their large platform to shed a light on opioid overdose in the United States. One of the ways, through Victoria's own perspective. While Victoria is no longer physically here, her story is shared in a book, Victoria's Voice, Her Words from Beyond the Grave. It was Victoria's wish to share her diary with the hope of saving another child's life.
Mental health is absolutely goes side by side with drug addiction, because if it's a mental health, a lot of those people, they self-medicate and they turn to drugs to kind of alleviate their pain or escape something.
In 2019, the Siegels created the Victoria's Voice Foundation. The charity says 300 people die from drug overdose every single day.
It was a great pathway to really go on a national level with saving lives.
Siegel says Victoria's Voice provides public service announcements to families and pushes forward initiatives to address drug abuse. And they've been working tirelessly to increase access to naloxone, including Narcan, to reverse overdoses.
Warning parents about the fentanyl and also what can be done about it, such as having Narcan in hand or at your house to save the person doing the drug overdose.
A major milestone when the family announced the launch of the first ever National Naloxone Awareness Day on June 6th, and a media campaign to get the word out. While the Siegel family works to address opioid addiction, they say there is a simple step you can take before it goes too far.
If someone in your family you suspect having a mental health issue, it's the number one thing is to recognize that it may be an issue, get professional help, maybe go to therapy, and then or a professional doctor, and be there by that person's side. Because mental health is a lifetime thing, and it is something that needs to be recognized, but it's also treatable. And those people need a lot of love and family support.
I'm Tiffany Lane reporting.
To date, more than 500,000 parents and children have been impacted by the education programming that you can find through the Victoria's Voice Foundation. The foundation is focused on continuing to make naloxone more widely available to treat overdoses before it is too late. Now to this life-saving discussion. Joining us here at the desk, so grateful to have Robert Smith here, a former Division I athlete turned entrepreneur, the founder and managing partner of New Capital. Across the way there, Dania LaForce, executive director of the Terrence Mann Complete Player Foundation, also the co-president of Courtside Moms Media. LaForce has seen mental health firsthand by working directly with college athletes, coaching college women's basketball for 22 years, eventually working as a coach with the WNBA. Through her blogs, Mother Knows Best, LaForce highlights her time as a coach, raising her sons. Her oldest son, by the way, plays in the NBA with the LA Clippers. Also, Jackie Siegel, the co-founder of Victoria's Voice Foundation. And as you heard, the organization works to advance initiatives, change policies, and amplifies education surrounding drug abuse. And Jerome JYD Williams, Shooting for Peace founder, former NBA player for the Detroit Pistons, Toronto Raptors, Chicago Bulls, New York Knicks. That's a long list there. Got the nickname JYD, or Junkyard Dog, while playing with the Pistons because of hard work and hustle. Today, a global ambassador for the NBA's Basketball Without Borders, teaching the game of basketball to underdeveloped areas in Africa, South America, and Asia. Truly a wonderful group here. So much insight, so much expertise and experience. But Jackie, I want to start with you. How are you and your family doing?
It's been a battle. It's been really rough because you never get over the loss of a child, especially like on the holidays and things like that, when you look at that empty seat at the dinner table. But it's crazy because my husband, being such a successful businessman, we never thought something like this would happen to us. And what we decided to spend the rest of our lives trying to prevent a totally preventable overdose for other parents. And we want them to see the warning signs. We didn't see the warning signs. So through our Victoria's Voice book, it's her diary, and it goes into her depression, the stress, everything that made her turn to drugs, the bullying while she was growing up. And I want this to be an eye-opener for other parents to look at their children, because they think, oh, this would never happen to me. But really, and like even if the child vapes or takes one pill, I mean, one pill can kill now. And we do have a program that's called Get, Give, Save, which is get Narcan, give Narcan, save a life.
Dania, what's your perspective on that from mother?
Yeah, you know, it's really heart-wrenching. My son, Terrence Mann, had a best friend, Xavier Salomon, growing up in Lowell, and Xavier ended up dying of an overdose, a drug overdose. And to see how it's affected my son's life and his purpose and his mission is something that's just really special. I feel like when a death happens, there's a ripple effect. And as that ripple effect goes, it spreads change and positivity. And it affects so many people's lives as that ripple is moving across. So he created the Terrence Mann Complete Player Foundation in an effort to get opportunities for students through basketball or sports, and through academic opportunities through prep school. He was in prep school while his friend Xavier was on the streets of Lowell. And he would come home on weekends and tell his friend Xavier all the stories about being in prep schools with, great kids and getting a great education. And he couldn't understand why Xavier didn't have that same opportunity that he had. So our foundation is basically to provide independent boarding school opportunities for students of color and underserved students, as well as athletic opportunities, basketball camps, clinics, anything that could keep them off the streets and in a positive environment where they are around like-minded people and are working on their talents and a gift from God. So
I love that. I hear this support, almost like a force amplifier,
yes.
right? You have one person, like you said, that ripple effect.
Yes.
Robert, let's bring you into this conversation. So you hear about a family who took their pain into purpose and then leveraged it into this platform in an effort to save lives. What kind of impact does that have in countering this epidemic?
Well, I'll say this. When I first met the Siegel family almost a year ago, there was an experience where it kind of brought us together because there was no empathy gap. And what do I mean by that? So they lost their daughter. I lost my son's mother to a multiple drug overdose. And then shortly thereafter, 6 months later, my son's grandmother died from the same exact thing. And being, African American and coming from the inner city, the ghetto, the hood, however you want to refer to it, this is an issue that we all see and deal with every day. And for many, many years, this has been going on. And now it's taken, just the country and the world by storm in terms of people who are incredibly wealthy, people who are black, white, old, young, Muslim, Christian, what have you. As it relates to this issue with the drug epidemic, it doesn't care about your race. It doesn't care about, your class. It doesn't care about your political affiliation, right? So this is a very serious, human being oriented issue that we all need to come together, right? From all of our backgrounds to help one another, create the level of awareness that's needed so that not just our youth, but all people in general can be aware of, this issue.
And that's why we are here today. So JYD, let's bring you into this conversation. Looks can be deceiving, as they say. And when it comes to the athletic experience, that athletic world, you have excellence on one level, maybe struggles on another. What's your reaction to that?
Well, the one thing I can say is coming from my background, my younger brother, his best friend was Asian. Growing up, this young man would be over at our house, every weekend. We considered him one of the family. But due to mental health, he committed suicide about 5 or 6 years ago. And it was just heart-wrenching just to deal with and to see a young person that I had known his whole life because of my younger brother and the effect it had on him. So I'm very empathetic to not only the parents that have had to deal with overdose with the drugs, but also just mental health in general. As African Americans, especially athletes, a lot of times we don't even realize the strain that we're putting on ourselves and that society around us is putting on us each and every day. And to be able to verbalize that, to be able to speak to people about that is only going to help all of us. And when I say all, I mean all of society to make a better place and a better living, because you have to remain aware. And to Jackie's point, you have to have resources to help the problem.
And we'll certainly touch on resources a little bit later in this special. But what does that call for help look like, feel like, sound like?
I noticed with my daughter, she started changing her habits. She changed her friends. Her friends were not the best influence on her, and she was going in a negative direction. She was tired all the time, locking herself in the bedroom and using that as an excuse, or spending more time over at friends' houses and sleepovers where we didn't know that the parents were out of town and they were doing drugs that way.
So isolation?
Yeah, isolation, depression, and their grades going down, lack of interest with activities, not spending as much time with family and things like that.
Dania, so how would you may spot it perhaps on a young athlete?
Yeah, as a coach, you see signs of lack of performance. You see signs of the grades going down in school, in their classes, lack of engagement with the teammates. And those are telltale signs that something's going on. As a mom, for me, having a son who's a professional athlete and the pressure to perform at a high level every single night, or you hear the backlash from the fans. I mean, it's just a simple conversation. How are you? Are you okay? I'm mom and I'm still here for you. I don't care how many points you've scored. I don't care how many minutes you played. I am here for you and I love you. And those are the type of conversations, despite performance, despite anything that's going on wrong, that they need to hear. Those are the voices that they need to hear to combat the voices that they are hearing in their minds.
Creating that safe space.
Correct.
And with that, we will take a deeper dive on the often unseen challenges from some of the highest levels of performance as we continue our town hall, Mental Health and Opioids from Las Vegas, Nevada. Stay with us. Welcome back to Your Voice, Your Future Town Hall, Mental Health and Opioids. I'm Marie Mortera. Well, as you heard, another group that experiences high pressure and high expectations every day, As athletes, their jobs are critiqued by coaches, media, and fans every single day. So imagine that stress. And sometimes that means their mental health may be overlooked. Our Tiffany Lane shares one way top players are giving a different perspective into how their lives and how this provides a positive mental impact for them and their fans.
Built by athletes, made for fans. This is Players TV.
There's a platform for athletes to showcase who they are off the court and the field. Players TV, the first ever TV network with content created by athletes, now has a new distribution partnership with Amazon Prime Video. They made the announcement at a star-studded event at Westgate Hotel and Resorts, Las Vegas.
Today, so without further ado,
Athletes like Kyrie Irving, Vernon Davis, and Russell Wilson in attendance. Co-founder Duran Gidry says they're distributing now in about 300 million households.
I think you see athletes in their social media following, they have millions of followers, and sports outlets have their following base, but people are much more interested in these guys as human beings.
Yeah.
And our goal and our job is to bring athletes in a much more humanized way versus in a dehumanized way.
One of the athletes showcasing his content on the network is NBA star DeAndre Jordan, who helped the Denver Nuggets win a championship ring this year. He says this platform allows him to share his life outside of basketball.
I enjoy wine, I enjoy meditation, mindfulness, things like that. And also I enjoy cooking because of my diet and the things that I want to put into my body. So it just kind of gives people an insight on those things and how I'm living my life.
Former NBA star Jerome Williams, also known as the Junkyard Dog for his hard work and hustle on the court, is also creating content on the network. It allows him to showcase his son and other young competitors on the rise.
Equalizing the playing field for athletes who get scholarships, who are pursued by schools and destinations, to really be able to magnify and quantify what they're able to do from their hard work, their practice, the hours in the gym, on the field.
And with sharing a bit of their personal lives, Players TV is giving a platform to help address mental health, which is sometimes overlooked with professional sports people.
We've seen the effects that it has on people when they hold these things in. And it's such a great conversation to have now because people are so comfortable talking about these things that have been going on for decades. But people have either been too ashamed to talk about it or didn't know very many outlets, but now we have those.
During a panel hosted by former NFL star and businessman Vernon Davis, he shared a very personal story as they spoke about substance abuse and the role mental health plays in that realm.
This is a big deal. I just lost my uncle to fentanyl.
Oh my God,
I'm so
sorry.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, but this is a big deal, and we need to create more awareness about it.
He reminds everyone that athletes are also human and experience challenges too.
Mental health to me is a huge issue. I struggle with it, my family struggled with it, and it's something that we need to stand together on because it's hard and it's tough to get through it. I mean, depending on what you're dealing with.
According to the International Olympic Committee, up to 35% of elite athletes suffer from a mental health disorder. This may cause burnout, eating disorders, depression, and anxiety. The prevalence of symptoms related to depression can be up to 68% among athletes, which is similar to the general population. But athletes may not look for support, often because of stigma.
Not only are we dealing with the outside media, the fans, our own family members, being able to carry that weight and still perform on and off the court, on and off the field is a huge thing.
Williams says with all the pressure sports people face, they need to give time to be more aware of their mental health.
That you really don't, a lot of times, take the time to, make sure your mental stability is correct. That's why you have to surround yourself with the right people, with the right infrastructure, with people who care and not just talk at you, but talk to you.
These current and former players are expanding their reach through Players TV and businesses, saying that it's important to use their voices as an example to fans that they are not alone and that we must address the mental health crises together.
We're able to share so much. People look up to us, they want to emulate us, they want to follow us, they want to do exactly what we're doing. Everyone wants to be the next Russell Wilson. And for us to be able to share our story and just be creative and move the way we're moving. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing because you're showing the world that anything's possible.
I'm Tiffany Lane reporting.
Wow. Dania, JYD, and Robert. So we hear that focus on an athlete's humanity. You know, sometimes those vulnerabilities may be hard to see from the fans' perspective because they are operating on this out-of-this-world performance level. Let's talk about it from the athlete's point of view. Is that hard to acknowledge that the struggles very much are real?
Very much so. It's funny, JYD Jerome and I went to Georgetown together. So we were both high-performing athletes at the Big East, for the Big East. I'm at Georgetown, and I've gone from being a high-performance athlete to coaching high-performance athlete to now being a mother of a high-performance athlete. So I've seen how that performance anxiety can be a huge effect on how they play and handle situations. And now, as a mom, it's hard to see that my son can't ever turn it off. He's always expecting to be the Terrence Mann, LA Clipper, NBA player, and he's not that. He's that maybe for 3 hours of a day, but he's human, And I just tell him, surround yourself with people that know you as Terrence Mann, not Terrence Mann, the NBA player. So when you are off the court, you're hearing your human side is now being addressed. And it's very important for athletes to be able to surround themselves by people who don't really care about what they do, really care about who they are. It's so hard to turn it off. I mean, my son walks around with a hood in LA all the time because he's so recognizable, and that's traumatic you feel like you can't walk out your house without being who you are. Go to the grocery store, go to the gas station. So it's just very important for athletes to have an opportunity to shut down, turn it off, and that being surrounded by people who really know you for who you are is very important.
Authentic care.
Preach.
Big East.
Come on.
And one of the things we heard in that story was that you have to be an example.
That's right.
JY, do you think that message resonates?
It definitely resonates. It goes back to, Charles Barkley talking about he's not a role model. But in actuality, every athlete that plays a sport is a role model. And you're going to carry that weight. But to Danny's point, it is important that your surroundings, the people that you're around every day, those people have to be very secure and very supportive in a way that makes you still human. One of the strengths that I try to impose into all of the athletes that I coach now today, young and old, is you have to enjoy life. Each and every day is a blessing. It's easier said, it's something that we say, but we don't actually take the time to really appreciate. And when you're able to enjoy life, you're going to take some of that weight of being an athlete and having to perform and the pressure that goes along with it, and be able to now sort of accept some of the difficulties that come with it, such as defeat. My son was playing this past weekend against some of his old teammates from Las Vegas, and he lost the game. Within the game, he was having a hard time, but I just kept up the same encouragement to all the players, but I also encouraged him to let him know that, hey, whether you do this or not, you're still a great player. And those are the kinds of things that coaches, players need to hear. They need a support system from not only their family, but when they step onto the field or the court, that voice could be the difference between death and destruction and life. Because again, like you said, Marie, it's the pressure. It's the pressure that, it starts at a very young age. And that's how people like Terrence make it to where they are, because they're able to overcome the pressure. So those voices are very important. And as you can see by, this strong mom sitting next to me, he had a great support system. That's right. So he was able to overcome. But a lot of athletes don't have that. And then they might turn to an alternative, to Jackie's point. So that's why we are here to, not only lend our support, but point out the different foundations, the different places that these people can go, these families, these kids, because it's so important. When you can die from one pill, something needs to be addressed. Because in our neighborhoods where Robert and I come from, we usually have to deal with it on a different level. But in today, these kids are dealing with social media. They're dealing with a whole level of distractions that we never could even imagine at that age. So now, as parents, as a community, we have to come together and make sure we are educating ourselves as well as educating the young people to say, because I can't tell my son, hey, too much social media, or you can't do that, you can't do that, because that's all they do. So it's now, well, what do? Well, you have to feed into that young person, and not only your son or daughter, but the kids that are surrounding them.
Their friendship group.
You got to feed
circle.
into them too,
Yes.
or else they're not going to be able to overcome and help and help you and your family.
It certainly is a community conversation. I want to get back to what we heard there at the Westgate. Jackie, what was your reaction hearing that the conversation about the realities of an athlete's life is going to change in a very big way?
It's really, I can relate to the stress of being famous. And these kids that become are famous, it's almost like overnight when they become a star. And mentally and emotionally, they're not prepared for being bombarded in the real world. I mean, it's really crazy. When I have a TV show out, when I became the Queen of Versailles, it was quite overwhelming for me. So I can relate to the being famous overnight, and it's very difficult. And but there are support groups and family and friends to get them through this.
Yeah, to hear again, these role models, these athletes talking about their vulnerabilities in a very real way can really change the conversation, can make it very apparent that there is more there than just making those goals and those scores, right? And making those points. There's a lot more to it. And Robert, one thing that you said during commercial break was so impactful to me. You said it really has to start at home. These conversations start there at the home.
100%. I mean, as a former, athlete, and I'm sure Dania and Jerome and all of the athletes in general that we work with at Players TV, the Wilsons and so forth, we all remember receiving preferential treatment when we were 7 or 8 or 9, not based on how intellectually gifted we are, but primarily based on our physical attributes. We could run faster, jump higher, and so forth. And so when you're a child and you see that they're treating you differently purely because of your physical abilities, as opposed to, well, what type of kid are you? What's your personality? How do you feel? How's home? How are your parents, right? And that entire dynamic, it's a level of pressure to perform when you're just a child. Now, let alone when you go through that process and you become an adult, and now you're 23 years old and you just signed a multi-million-dollar contract, but you're still a young person. You haven't fully developed your emotional intelligence because the vast majority of your time has been spent on one aspect of you, which technically is just a sport. And so the level of pressure that you have to perform for a sport, rather than, hey, who are you as a holistic human being and how are you? And the last point that I'll make with that is, again, I can only speak from my frame of reference and being African American and coming from the inner city and so forth, is that we're taught at a very young age to never show any form of vulnerability. Never. You see a little boy, he's crying and he's 8 or 9, and you say, hey, stop crying, toughen up. Well, you don't know why he's crying, right? And crying is a very basic human emotion and need to grief, and or if you have laughter, right? If you're laughing a lot, you cry. So to be taught that it's not okay to cry or not to speak about how you feel in terms of whatever it is that you're going through is something that needs to be addressed. And the last thing that I'll say as it relates to that is, if it's not in the schools, there's going to be a big issue, because once our kids begin to go to schools, they're out of the home, right? So we need to have these programs and this level of awareness created and implemented in the schools, just like when I was growing up and they were growing up with the DARE program, right? Where is that now? There's no national programs within the schools to create this awareness that's needed ultimately.
Well, but this conversation is part of that.
That's right.
Yes. All right, so up next, we are going to be talking more about those solutions. A really important part of the conversation here. You're watching Your Voice, Your Future, Town Hall, Mental Health and Opioids from Las Vegas, Nevada. Stay with us. Welcome back to our town hall on mental health and opioids. We at Sinclair have partnered with Victoria's Voice and Shooting for Peace to get this important information out to you at home. Mental health and opioids are both epidemics here in our country, but people are not alone. From pain to purpose. Let's start with Victoria's Voice Foundation. Jackie, life-saving drugs are an important part of your mission.
Yes, absolutely. So when my husband and I, when our daughter died, he studied and he researched. He actually had 2 piles of paper on his desk. One was for business and one was to save lives. He pushed one aside and he said, this one saves lives. I'm going to start the Victoria's Voice Foundation. And what we discovered is this is Narcan. This can bring people back from death. From after they've had their last breath, you put this in their nose and it blocks the neurons from getting the opioid to their brain, and they're awake, and that gives you the time to go to the hospital to take them and get treatment. And we also have speakers that go all across the country to schools. They speak at 3 schools a day to educate the schools, the teachers, and the students about the naloxone.
Going back to your point about that education from home to school throughout the community, let's talk about Shooting for Peace.
Absolutely. So with Shooting for Peace, partnered with Victoria's Voice, we come in with digital education. So as Robert spoke of eloquently earlier, the fact that in our schools is where the parents are delivering our kids to every day. And this is where the area needs to be focused with having resources and things that are going to help these kids with mental health. So at Shooting for Peace, we offer digital education within the schools as well as outside of the schools. So we felt like this was very important to not only this pandemic, but also the fact that it's really needed in the minority society, in the minority communities, because speaking from my own point of view and a lot of other African Americans and minorities, we live a different life. You know, from birth, you know, my history was about ancestors being slaves. It was never of anything of any value. So I was always just coming to school just thinking, well, you know, what am I gonna be? And so I always looked to what I saw on television. So when I saw Dr. J and Magic Johnson, I had hope. So with Shooting for Peace, we try to deliver the same hope. Now that I've made it, I want to give back and make sure that these kids understand the story of how to overcome a lot of these problems, a lot of these mental struggles. And this is what Shooting for Peace is all about. So we come into the schools, we come in with other legends. We're in chapters, in 12 chapters across the US, where these cities were connected to MBA programs can have legends come talk to kids and deliver this education. And it's not just about mental health, because in society for African minorities and minorities like us, we have to deal with the financial part of it, which is financial literacy. We have to deal with our history part of it, which is African American history. And this is what Shooting for Peace delivers for free to the students. So that's why we're also looking for the community to support programs and nonprofits like the JYD Project and others like Victoria's Voice, as well as the Terrence Mann Foundation, to do these kinds of things to help communities and societies all around.
I was going to bring Dania into the conversation as well. I knew you were eager to get in there and to discuss this, because the solutions are out there.
For sure. You know, my brother Robert Smith could probably give you the correct Bible quote, but too much is given, much is expected. Yes. And Terrence has a platform now where he has a responsibility, you know, to change lives. And that's what he wants to do. You know, he had a great game last year. I think he had like 25 points and a couple of rebounds. And the first thing he did when he went home was post a picture of him and his best friend Xavier, who passed away, and said, man, you should be here with me. You know, so that he wants to change lives. You know, he wants to provide opportunities for underserved or brown students and athletes to really afford financially, to be able to afford great education. You know, not the public school education sometimes where you're in a classroom of 1 or 30. You know, Independent schools allow you to be in a smaller classroom size. You're surrounded by great peers. You know, you have an opportunity to learn and grow at your pace. And that's expensive. Prep schools are very expensive. You know, $60,000, $70,000. You know, Terrence was fortunate to have a scholarship to do so, and that's what he wants to do for other students. Basketball was his saving grace. He was off the streets of Lowell. You know, he was in skills and drills programs 3 nights a week, you know, traveling with AAU, fortunately, on the weekends. He didn't have time to be on the streets and get involved with bad behavior and do the wrong things, right? So he wants to use his platform. He wants to use this opportunity to change lives and give students the opportunity to do whatever they want, but have the opportunity to get a great education and really develop their game in basketball and hopefully be one day a professional athlete. But that's what the Terrence Mann Complete Player Foundation is about. We want to change lives and give students and players an opportunity to grow.
Pathways to success.
Yes.
Robert, so we're hearing about business-minded people taking their investments and really putting them back into the community.
Yeah, so what we're talking about here is as it relates to the different foundations we have a part of this whole shared platform, is how can you take the influential capital of the celebrity, the athlete, the entertainer, and so forth, and then mix and match that with business folks, entrepreneurs, and people from the investment community that do venture capital and private equity, and say, hey, let's continue to make money. Let's continue to do great investments, you know, and get the right ROI and MOIC, but also simultaneously, let's take a portion of that and put it to work in the community with programs like all of these series of foundations, Victoria's Voice, the Terrence Mann Foundation, Shooting for Peace, so that we can tie our wealth to purpose. Because wealth without purpose, in my own personal opinion, is pointless. It results in great, essentially, Babylonian trinkets, cars and jewelry and homes and different things that, yes, we need, but can that save a life ultimately? And when you leave here, as we all know, you can't take these worldly possessions with you, right? And so the hope that we should all have, regardless of, again, our race, our class, our political affiliations, is when we leave this world, we want to hear the Creator or the man upstairs or Mother Earth or however you want to refer to the divine, job well done, right? We're given the ability to make money based on our gifts. But if that money is not tied directly to something that's transformative to someone else, it really has no value. And so when you look at what we represent here and the many other athletes and ultra high net worth individuals that are a part of, you know, essentially this movement, we want to create the level of awareness to where it goes into every single school, every home, every family, and as far as I'm concerned, every U.S. citizen and eventually globally.
The ripple effect,
Yes.
That's
right?
right.
To bring up a topic that we talked about, you know, and I love that here we started off with the problems, but clearly the solutions are out there.
Well, and what Robert was saying, you can't take all these trinkets with you.
Right.
But for me, like, there's nothing more rewarding than saving lives. And like, I know for a fact we got the naloxone to the police officers in Orange County, where I live in Florida. And the sheriff came up to me and he says, because of you and your husband, we've used it over 700 times this year. So I know in those 700 lives,
That's right.
you know, and it's gone nationwide, you know, for getting the education out there. And every parent should have naloxone. Everyone should have it in their glove compartment in their car. There was someone, one of the neighbors went to a barbecue. He didn't have any kids, but at the barbecue, someone overdosed. He ran up to his car, got the Narcan, administered it, and saved that person's life.
And how many more lives are saved by having life-saving conversations too? Simply
Right.
letting someone in need know that I am here for you.
That's right.
And that's definitely underscored here as well.
That's right.
Well, stay with us, everyone, for our last segment of this town hall, Mental Health and Opioids. I'm Marie Mortera. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Your Voice, Your Future Town Hall, Mental Health and Opioids from Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's continue our discussion, a few more minutes here. And these are our final thoughts. We heard about the problems of mental crises and desperation and the disaster when people turn to drugs, but we also talked about the ways to heal. What do you want our viewers to know?
One of the most important things that I want to get out there is to warn people that you have to assume almost any drug on the street is now laced with fentanyl. And all it takes is a couple grains of fentanyl that can kill. One inhale of an e-cigarette or something from the street. Just when you think vaping is okay, if it's bought off the street, assume it's laced with fentanyl. Even marijuana off the street, which never killed people before, it's laced with fentanyl. People are dying. I went to give a speech to a college, and the day before I got up there to give the warning, 5 kids died from smoking marijuana that was laced with fentanyl. I was a day too late. So that's like one of the most important things. Don't buy anything off the street. And again, I think everyone should have Narcan available. They can keep it. You can buy it in the pharmacies nowadays. And also look for the warning signs. If you notice any change in your children, and it could even be a relative or a best friend. You know, it can be any age. People are dying.
As you said before, Robert, it doesn't discriminate.
That's right.
And our foundation is victoriasvoicefoundation.com.
Dania,
yeah.
What's the message?
I think we have a lot of fame and fortune sitting around the table, but I want people to know you don't have to have that to be able to save a life.
That's right.
You know, a conversation with someone you think is struggling, you know, just your time, your presence, just being present, you know, and realizing people are struggling. I think anyone could change a life. You could be a bus driver, you could be a teacher, you know, you could just be a stranger walking by and you see someone with their head down. I think we all have to be a little bit more aware, and it's not just a fame and fortune thing or our responsibility, it's a human thing. And I think all humans need to be responsible to change this narrative.
And the Terrence Mann Foundation,
yes,
that nonprofit, a big part of that.
Yes, for sure. Terrence Mann Complete Player Foundation, tmcpf.org. Let's change lives.
Let's change lives. JYD, you're having this discussion here at home and abroad, internationally.
Yes. Shooting for Peace, shootingforpeace.com/education. So I want all the viewers to click on that link, share it with, you know, your nieces, your nephews, your sons, your daughters. You know, it's good for elementary all the way through high school. And within this education, it's something that's life-saving. And we're here to save lives. At Shooting for Peace, it's all about building champions and changing lives. So alongside the help of my other legends throughout these chapters in major cities such as we've done them in Utah, Cleveland, Chicago, New York, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, Detroit, Washington, D.C., there's so many others. And it's important that we understand that there is something out here for our kids.
You're not alone.
And click on the donate button. You know, it might not just be the fact that you have a young one, but you might be concerned about how to help. And within Shooting for Peace, there's an area that you can go to and, you know, supply us with resources to affect more children. The more resources we have, the more kids that we can get this information out to and support to.
And really, kids of all ages could use those messages, right, of resilience and to be a champion within.
All ages, all nationalities. It's not discriminating when it comes to death and destruction.
And Robert, that's again one of the things that you pointed out, that everyone can be helped by what we're hearing today.
That's right, and and I would just say that for all of us who are going through this human being experience, is I think we need to take a trifecta approach, which is in terms of health. You have your physical health, which is, you know, your body, what you consume, what you eat. Your mental health, which is your mind. And then last but not least, and again, just my own personal opinion and my own, you know, personal testimony, is the spiritual health. Because oftentimes, even if you have money, even if you have fame, even if you have a certain amount of love and support, when you're alone, if you don't understand who you are and whose you are from a spiritual perspective, because all these different things are on the human side. The being side is God that's represented inside of each and every one of us. And so when you're having those moments of despair, if your spiritual health isn't right for you personally, no amount of money, no amount of educational programs can technically save you. And so we need to band our collective resources together to make sure that that trifecta of health is right. Physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. And I believe, not just saying it because these are all friends and we've now become more like family amongst this dynamic of today and what we're going to accomplish. But I believe that if we can all come together and bring these series of programs in a national effort, not just one city or one county or one municipality, but every major city, as well as the small markets and so forth, to get these programs implemented in our schools, implemented in the workplace, we'll get to the point where we can ultimately truly save lives.
Collective healing. That's what I'm hearing here.
Collective.
And I love this crystal ball, because what you're doing is you're saying, okay, so here's the problem, here are the solutions, here's the path forward, here's what I can see. What would be your call to action to those watching?
Well, I was thinking with any parent out there that has lost a child already, to go forward with the healing process of speaking out and getting involved, making donations. It really helps emotionally that you're not alone, you're not the only one, and you can make a difference and spare other people, other parents from going through this great loss.
Do you think more people are having conversations like the one we're having now?
They definitely are. When our daughter died, there was a huge stigma with the drug overdose. No one wanted to admit to it. They would always say they died of natural causes. Right. And we made like national headlines with the death of our daughter because of our movie, The Queen of Versailles, that we had no choice but to come out with it. So I think God kind of put it into place that that we would get rid of that stigma and be together as a community and help each other.
And I think from that strong athletics perspective, once again, right, saying, I am human, beautifully human too, that helps.
Yeah, and I think more people are taking responsibility, like even at the collegiate level. Now you have a mental health professional as part of your coaching staff. Yeah. You know, the professional, they have more mental health professionals that are traveling with the teams, that are there for the guys to make sure that, you know, if they need some assistance, that somebody's right there right away to help them. So I think everyone's taking on a level of responsibility, which is great, and I think that's really going to help as well.
And going back to your point, that education that's highly accessible, right? We're talking about digital education, the storytelling, and then you have the community support too. The pillars are getting put up. Is that what it feels like?
It's put up, I think, you know, from everybody's perspective, SLL, stop, look, and listen. You know, you can change your life. And now that you've heard the resources, point them in the right direction. That's right.
Put them in the right direction. And so hopefully these words are heard and hopefully these actions are taken upon as well. We have a couple minutes left. Anybody want to add any final thoughts?
And I want people to remember, you know, get, give, save. Get Narcan and save a life. Administer it. That's what the give is.
Yeah, and
I just want to say, you know, Jackie, I'm really sorry for your loss, and the fact that, you know, your daughter putting her diary in a book. You know, I have three daughters, and to see that book and to read some of the messages that your daughter wrote is very inspiring and helpful. So I just want to personally thank you on behalf of my family. Yes, ma'am.
And there you have it, you know, the stories of healing, helping each other. It's happening here. Our hope is that it happens, you know, well beyond this broadcast across the nation. There are the websites, these nonprofit groups, these resources, life-saving resources that you need to know about there at home. And we really certainly hope that you take from this not just the size and the scope of the problem, the awareness, but also know that, again, the solutions are out there. And, sadly, we, of course, know that the stress of everyday life can be incredibly hard, but the solution cannot be a pill, as we've heard here. If we've learned anything today, again, remember this, that one pill can kill. So please talk to your family and friends. Talk to your kids. Let them know that you are there for them, that they can talk to you about anything and everything. Thank you for joining us. I'm Marie Mortera.